The one and only John Walsh. John is a prominent flamenco guitar soloist and composer. He's been invited to the second International Paco de Lucia Guitar Festival. He's played for the President and the National Ballet of Ireland and performed alongside flamenco artists like Jose Manuel Leon, Karen Lugo, Antonio Sanchez, and he joins me here now. Thanks so much for taking the time, John.
Thank you very much for having me.
And did my best. My Spanish is just, it is so rusty at this point. What is your routine artistically look like at the moment? Are you doing any live streams? Are you teaching online?
What did take up the majority this year was recording and getting my album out finally after many years. So the early part of this kind of situation back in March and April, when it sort of all kicked off in March, I decided if there's not going to, when it became clear that there was, that the whole concert and gig scene was gone essentially for many months at the time, I decided I'd try to record. So there was a lot of practice at the beginning, heavy practice to try to get ready, basically to record. I recorded at home here, that took up a few months, because it was impossible for me to record like one day and then the next day and the next and the next, because everybody's here in the house, and it wasn't possible with the sort of lockdown situation. So it was mostly that then, and then getting other people on the album, percussionists, getting the tracks sent across to them, getting them to record back and forth, and then getting sent to mixing and mastering in Spain and all that. So it has taken up a lot of the year, really. Aside from that, there's some online teaching going on. Thankfully, there's some small amount of teaching I'm doing locally with kids, which is really nice. Doing all about rhythm with them. But aside from that, the sort of artistic output is definitely hit in that there's no concerts or gigs of any description really going on. So I think really for me, I definitely found it difficult in the second half of the year, which is something I've never experienced in my professional life as a musician. I found it difficult to motivate myself. Being honest, to practice. It's something I never had an issue with. I'd be quite disciplined in a sense, if I was feeling unwell, I'd practice. If I was not in the humour to practice, I'd still practice. But I just found it, I found it quite difficult with no sort of output for it, no artistic output. I found it, especially playing on your own and not being able to collaborate with people and not meeting up with people, you lose something. So a lot of the kind of the energy I had went into recording the album, and then after that, what practice I was doing, I feel personally, is kind of like a maintenance almost. Just keeping stuff up, keeping up repertoire, keeping up technique, stuff like that. That's more or less it.
Like, people are confronting this idea that we have to just constantly generate content, even in the midst of a global pandemic, political upheaval, and somehow not acknowledge that, we're human too, and we have to kind of be kind to ourselves and maybe not beat ourselves up if we're not at the most creative right now.
Yeah, I did. I found it really tough, to be honest. That's not to say that there was plenty of content, so to speak, but it's all going to be released at once when the album is done. But in terms of being regular with putting out stuff, I didn't really feel like it, to be perfectly honest. I just I've got a family life here and other things going on, so it's between that and just trying to get all the album stuff sorted, it wasn't really It wasn't really something that was possible in a sense to kind of worry about putting out stuff all the time, you know?
Does the album have a set release date yet, or are you kind of waiting on a couple things like artwork or?
Yeah, I'm waiting on really. I'm waiting on a delivery date of the physical CDs. Okay, so obviously it's going out on a variety of platforms, but I don't want to. I want to wait until I have them in my hand. There's a certain, there's certain people that want it on physical copies, and when gigs get back up and running as well, it's a very nice thing to have at gigs in this country. Anyway, at least. Have physical CDs and people buy them, and it's something that they can hold in their hand. It's so I'm waiting to get that back. It's more or less. I should more or less know about that tomorrow, unfortunately, and not today during the interview. But I'll know more or less tomorrow when that will be. But it's looking like the second week in December will be when it will be released. So I'm putting it out mostly from my website. So as digital downloads and physical copies that can be got kind of directly from my website. May go on Spotify and iTunes a little bit later. But I'll keep some degree of ownership on it for a short while at least.
Very cool. And, for those people who maybe are kind of straddling those two worlds of a physical copy of a release and just streaming one track at a time, is there will the artwork and the liner notes, everything, will that be available for download on your website
Yeah,
too?
sure. All the artwork and stuff is available. That when I'm doing the digital downloads for my website, it'll come as PDFs as well with that.
Cool.
So yeah.
Any tabs for those gent metal shredders out there who
There will
want to
be
play your stuff?
all the tabs will be available. I'm pretty sure they'll all be available by then. I have like 80% of it done already. So just getting that, I have just 2 tracks left to do tabs for. So it'll be tabs and musical notation, and or whichever. If someone wants it only in tabs, fine. But I generally supply it with musical notation and tabs underneath. I'm a bit obsessive with transcriptions, so it's all right-hand fingering entirely throughout it is done. Now, obviously, if someone wants to do their own right-hand fingering, that's fine, but I put in all right-hand fingering. And where necessary, if there's left-hand fingering that seems a bit odd, or if there's certain choices, I put in left-hand fingering. But definitely, I think, maybe if people are learning something or if people are going through pieces, it's often the execution on the right hand is of more interest in how certain things are done. And so, so all that will be available as well. It'll all be available from my website, which is johnwalshguitar.ie. I should actually say that.
Perfect. Well, it'll be a thing that people could click down here
Yeah, great.
finish. But that's awesome. So are you doing those? Are you transcribing them all on your own in Sibelius or Finale or something like that?
I'm using Guitar Pro to do it actually. I just find it convenient. It's very quick and easy. I have done other transcriptions of stuff in Sibelius before. Personally, I just find in terms of pure speed of getting it done and a nice finish that is very suitable for guitar transcriptions, I find Guitar Pro very easy for that. There are limitations, obviously. There's some limitations, but it hasn't become an issue in any transcriptions I've been doing so far. But yeah, I'm transcribing them all myself. It's the easiest way. At least, well, it's not the easiest way, but at least I know they're right.
Mm-hmm. Which is obviously a huge component of flamenco, which is historically an oral tradition anyway. So to do the right hand articulation and techniques, and we've certainly seen written examples that are completely not the way that a flamenco player would play a piece. So it's great to know that people will be able to get it, from the horse's mouth, so to speak.
Yeah, of course, definitely it being an oral tradition and stuff, obviously traditionally, it's not something that would normally be available as detailed transcriptions of falsettos and things that you'd be learning. But of course, people know it's out there. You had Kenny Sadis doing the transcriptions of Paco's music at the beginning. They were pretty much as spot on as I've seen so far anyway. mean, for people that aren't in Spain necessarily, or aren't learning face to face, or that are already at a level that it's easy for them to, that they understand the compass and they understand what's going on. It's an easy thing for them to read. They learn it. I advocate both. I think it's very, very important and very good to transcribe your whatever you want to learn yourself as well by ear. But I mean, that's a task in itself as well. If you're talking about some of the pieces are long on the album. One of the pieces is like 9 minutes and 20 something seconds long, so it take a while to transcribe it. In that case, it's easier just to read it.
Mm. And so on the album, who are some of the other collaborators, whether that's percussion or the engineer that you're working with?
Yeah, so basically I have 3 percussionists on the album, 3 percussionists I've played with. So there's Pepe Rodriguez from Arco. There's Ginés Pozas, he's in Madrid. And there's Ruben Rupik, who's from Rotterdam. And I've played with all 3 guys. Pepe in Ireland a lot. Ginés I played with in Ireland, and I played with in Madrid. And in the festival, the Paco festival in Algeciras, I played with Ruben. And so all 3 of the guys are doing percussion in a lot of the tracks. Then there's Danny Bonilla and Jorge Perez doing palmas, and that was done over in Sevilla. So Alberto Lopez is the engineer, the producer of it. So he recorded that in his studio over there. And you might know him already. He's a very, very, very excellent guitarist. You'd find him online easily enough as well. Very, very, very great guitarist. So Alberto came over here, I think it was last year. Yeah, last year. He came over, he wanted to play over here, and he got in touch with me, and we were chatting, and he came over and did just one concert in Dublin, and we played together in it, and he was at the house here for a good while, became kind of friends, and he was saying at the time, that he does a lot of production work and stuff for people, so it was an easy kind of thing to send across the music to him.
You were saying the process was that you recorded most or all of the guitar with your home studio setup?
Yeah, I recorded right here.
Oh, really?
All of the guitar, yeah. So like I said at the beginning, when things kind of when the pandemic restrictions came in, I saw it, to be honest, first as an opportunity of, look, I have been trying to get time to record this album for probably more years than I would like to admit. And I said, look, here we go. No concerts, no gigs. This is the time you've been looking for. So the only problem with that then was that I had lots of time, but the inability to go to studios very easily. Especially studios abroad, like in Spain, where you might go where the process will be far more defined. The people there very used to knowing what you're doing, etc. Of course, there's fantastic studios here, fantastic engineers, absolutely brilliant. But I suppose from a matter of recording is, someone that knows flamenco and knows flamenco albums and knows what you're looking for. So anyway, at the end of the day, I recorded it here, and I had the benefit of having some very helpful people that helped me a lot in the process of it. So Declan Lonigan, I want to shout him out, a guy that owns a very, very good producer and engineer that owns a studio not too far from here. So Bluebird Studios. Declan basically helped me with the room and about any problems, frequencies in the room, and I made some adjustments and traps and things and frequency specific traps and all this sort of stuff to prepare it, and he helped me with mic positioning and just different stereo positioning techniques and all that sort of stuff. And then I sent him across some sample recordings early on in the process, and he'd say such a thing could be improved, or this is good now, or such a thing is lacking this or lacking that. So little by little, then I had also a fantastic guy in Germany and a fantastic guy in the US that also heard a lot of these fledgling recordings at the beginning, which was in the US, and I hope I'm pronouncing his name correctly, Todd Kreuzberg. You know Todd? Mm-mm. He's a fantastic guitarist. He's has a channel on YouTube. The Guitar Wizard is his name, but very, very, very good. Great ear, great producer. So he gave me some tips and stuff as well. And Thomas, I hope I'm also pronouncing this correct, Vogt, who produced John Amir Haddad's the penultimate flamenco album in Germany. Very, very, very helpful as well. So between all those really helpful people, I did as best I could, in the process here, and it was interesting to record at home. As I was saying to you before, it was it has like good and bad elements to it. The good is that you're free to record whenever more or less you feel like recording. You're not under pressure to record on a particular day. You mightn't feel up to it, or you're having a bad nails day. The downside is that you got to do all the arranging yourself. You have to arrange mics, check everything before, levels, everything. Normally something that you just in a studio situation just sit down and play. It does make a difference, but you get used to it.
Yeah, we were talking earlier too about just the mix and the guitar sound and how vital that is on any genre of album, but certainly a flamenco guitar album where the guitar is the voice, and some producers choose to make it sound like it's a giant stadium filled with a solo guitar, and like your record, it sounds like it's a very intimate, immediate sound, which is great. It sounds like you're sitting right in front of your guitar.
Yeah, it's a very close sound. It's not heavily processed really in any way. Obviously people are going to have one taste or another in what exact guitar sound they like, but I would say probably the guitar sound is more or less just the guitar sound as it was here, mixed, and that's it. There's very little done to it in a sense. The only thing that was done was kind of subtractive EQ in a couple of parts. So one track in particular just had some insane overtone phenomenons that were on the guitar. They were nothing got to do with the room. I tried it in different. I've tried it even outside. It's just phenomenon with the guitar, particular notes, and we're setting up resonances within the guitar. And so, other than that, that was just a matter of just subtractive EQ, just taking those things out, and there was nothing really as done to the sound, so to speak. So yeah, it's pretty natural sounding. That whole decision as well is a bit of a trial, really. I mean, there's so many reference mixes you can look at. What sound you want? Is it this album? Is it that album? Is this album? And in the end, I just decided it's not this album or that album. It's just whatever I sound like, louder, basically, so that you can turn it up, and that's it.
And as far as the pieces, the compositions or the falsettos, is this like many years in terms of composing it, or did it kind of come together all this, during 2020?
This album, my first, it's almost like a snapshot. There's pieces I've had up on YouTube are on the album. Now they're not played exactly the same or anything, and there's other pieces on the album, but it's basically that period of composing is on this album. From then to now is on this album. Stuff. I have many other things that I've started and other pieces and stuff that I was wondering whether I should include them or not. But these were pieces that really hadn't been performed in public. These were just compositions I had. And I decided anything else will go on a future album. So this is this is basically the material I've been playing in concert really for the last while. My own music in concert is on this record essentially.
Yeah, the track that you sent me, the Arco y Limonero, which is like a just a beautiful Alegria, composition. And there's
Thank you.
what I was guessing at, some guitar references as far as influence that seemed very specific. Like there was one little section and I was like, oh, that sounds like a Jose Manuel Leon thing.
I
And of course, that's a guy you've spent some time with too.
Yeah, I can't help that. There there was so maybe let me see in maybe there's one or two deliberate uh references we'll call them on the album, right? Uh One to Salvador, my teacher, my main teacher who I learned in Spain with, who's Jose's father. One to Jose, in another track. There may be one or two in there that I'm not even conscious of, to be honest, because I just love his music. Um, and then one particular thing for Cañizares. But these are such small things that only the guitar nerds would notice, I think, really.
And so, how did you, going back to how you started out? I mean, did you start out learning flamenco guitar in Ireland, or was that when you went to Spain?
Um, I started here really. I mean, I didn't start guitar doing flamenco at all. Um, Played a lot of electric guitar really when I was in university, and very sort of Steve Vai obsessed person. And before that, other like rock music and stuff. I wanted to learn flamenco. I heard it really. I just bought some CDs one time and heard flamenco and just became a bit obsessed with it really and decided I wanted to learn it. I started a little bit of classical guitar before that, but I started that in like 2005 maybe. Um, and it was a quite unorthodox way of doing it really. I hooked up with a guitar teacher who was my first ever guitar teacher down in a city in Ireland called Limerick, where I was living at the time, and he knew about flamenco, knew how to play it, knew about classical guitar, knew how to play it, and knew about like other things like Chet Atkins. Johnny Hockerty was his name, and so I kind of prepared for classical exams with Johnny, and I did one classical diploma, um, and that was the first and only classical guitar I ever did. Was just a diploma exam and performance exam. And kind of after I had done that, I said, right, I just really want to do flamenco, which is what I kind of wanted to do at the beginning anyway. Um, so I was learning it as much as one can back in that time when there wasn't really huge amounts of info on YouTube as there is nowadays. I was just learning it as best I could, really. Um, and just a lot of listening and a lot of imitation, really. And I moved to Dublin and met up with a guitarist from Spain, Francisco, and basically started playing a lot of gigs with him. And he then was involved in a tour around Ireland with people that he brought over um, from Spain. And one of them was Salvador, who I kind of just hit it off with, became very friendly with. And Salvador invited me to come to Algeciras to learn if I wanted from him. So that's what I did. Quit the job and went over to learn. so, um, so it was kind of over and back then from here to there, over a period of about 4 years. So I met lots of the people that I kind of became really friendly with. Subsequently, I met in those 4 years. So I learned that, I mean, the bulk of everything I was studying was with Salvador, really. It was kind of like all encompassing, really. From absolute and utter basics to as far as you'd want to go, really. He's a fabulous guitarist, and a great teacher. So I met his son then, Jose Manuel Leon, kind of through him, really, and hooked up with him I think it was 2012, I think, or maybe 2010, maybe. I can't remember exactly, 2010 or 2012. So, and then I became friendly with him, and then I brought them all over here, and then we played over here, and sort of playing with Salvador here, and maybe Jose there, and yeah, so it was a nice way of learning, you know. It was when I was there, I mean, I was meeting lots of other people and lots of guitarists and stuff. I went to other cities as well, like Jerez and Sevilla and stuff, but my main time spent in Spain was in Algeciras.
For, you know, those who might not know, and in the land of YouTube here is the birthplace of, or the hometown of Paco de Lucia, of course.
Yeah, so Paco's got a big place there, you know, and yeah, I mean, I guess you could say there's an Algeciras school of guitar playing, you know. It's different. It's very influenced by Paco, very rhythmic, very interesting. It's different from what would be, say, in Jerez or Caña Roto in Madrid, you know. But yeah, so that's how I get it, how I the kind of trajectory of it. And when I was coming home, then like I was kind of writing stuff throughout the process. I started really kind of writing a lot in 2011, 2012, but I'm a very slow writer. So I'd write something and it'd be, I would say probably 95% of everything I write gets put on a hard drive and probably deleted, because I'm a hideous editor when it comes to that sort of stuff. So see, I'm quite cruel when it comes to chopping stuff. So I could have probably had 4 albums out at this stage if I had been less cruel to myself on it.
It's hard. I mean, yeah, I think every artist who is self-aware to any degree knows that we're like our own worst critics, and some of us, I mean, I have I put all the scratch recordings on my phone. I know that they're going to live on my phone. When that phone dies, they'll be gone. I mean, they should be backed up if I were smart, but you know, but it's hard to put something. I mean, I wonder if, especially now, given all the resources that are available and all the recordings and footage on YouTube, it's like it can be really intimidating, I think, maybe for younger musicians especially, to even know like what to put out and when it's ready, which you're never going to feel like it's ready, right?
Yeah,
you just have to kind of make the decision to publish it.
I think you're right, especially with the aspect of when it's ready. The answer is it's never ready. Nobody that, I don't think, well, speaking personally anyway, most of the time you produce something, then you decide it's not ready. You just have to put it out when you've produced, and that's it. You could be constantly working on something, and this is where you need a producer to step in and say it's ready, put it out. That's it. It's good, ready, bye. But yeah, no, it's a different landscape now, totally for young musicians, for sure. They an expectation of constant content creation. It's a strange environment, I think. It's the norm, I suppose, for a certain generation to be expected to put out content, so to speak, every week, or even more frequently than every week, even every day or every couple of days. I suppose the days of, release an album and then don't release anything then for another 4 years, and not be expected to release anything for another 4 years. It's a different landscape totally. So I don't know, I kind of maybe I'm straddling the two. I definitely, we're not putting stuff out every week. I don't know, I'm a bit more, I operate more snail-like than that, I believe. Put out stuff when I want to put it out, which is more frequently than every 4 years, but certainly less than every week.
Yeah. Yeah, what was that quote by the CEO of Spotify that everybody was up in arms about? Something like, artists can't put out, just like you said, put out work every three or 4 years and expect that's going to cut it. And everybody was like, how cruel and heartless of the CEO. And it's like, well, he's not wrong. That is what the industry, or at least the streaming part of the industry, looks like at the moment.
That's what it looks like at the
And
moment. Yeah,
yeah.
it's up to each person. It's up to whatever you decide is that. Personally, I I think I would have a preference for whenever an artist puts out something and they say this is when it's ready, and not to feel compelled to put stuff out for others. I think it's nice when you know someone is putting stuff out essentially for themselves, but to release it to the world, but that they've made something for themselves, so to speak. Oh, you understand what I mean, I hope.
Well, I was going to ask, if you have a couple favorite memories in Spain of performances that you did, or festivals, or tablaos that you played in, where it was like a magical moment, or it was just a really bizarre thing that totally came out of left field.
The first night playing in Candela in Madrid is a bit etched in my memory, really, um, because I went over. I was coming off the back of a fairly intense tour with the National Ballet here, who I had written a lot of music for. We were doing this um, very modern version of Carmen, the Bizet's Carmen, but it was a kind of based on Shedrin's instrumental reworking of Bizet's Carmen, and that had occupied a lot of time, and it was, it was the same concert every night, playing for the dancers, same concert every single night. Multiple theaters, one theater after another, after another, after another, after another, and it was going on for months. It was a lovely experience. In the middle of it, though, or sorry, more so towards the end of it, I got correspondence from Spain to say, "Do you want to come to play at this flamenco festival?" And honestly, my honest reaction at the time was, I don't know, do I or not? Because I've been spending the last loads of months playing only this music, literally nothing else, just this. I haven't had time to do anything else. I haven't played my own other compositions or anything. But I decided I'd just do it anyway. So I said I would, and then word got around that to the artistic director of the guy that programs the events in Candela, that I was coming over to play this festival. So he asked me would I play 2 nights in Candela. So I said sure, why not? But yeah, to be honest, it was pretty nerve-wracking at the time. It was 2015, I think it was. It was pretty nerve-wracking. It was my first time really playing like as the feature in Spain. I had played other parts, where I was kind of in with other people, or joining in on a gig or something. But yeah, it was advertised as me. so yeah, but it went really well. I was really happy with that gig. It was just so lovely. Everything about it, I just remember, was lovely. It was. I don't know if you've ever been in Candela in Madrid. You go downstairs into this big cave underneath the tablao, and that's where all the musicians hang out. And then the second night, I was given a present. I was told of 2 singers and a dancer and another guitarist. So they can play with you. And I was like, great, okay. And where are they? Oh, they'll be here before the show, don't worry. So they all arrived more or less about between more or less 10 and 5 minutes before they were supposed to go on stage. So I had it in my brain. I had it in my head that I was repeating the first night. I was going to play the same set, more or less, like soloist type of stuff. But then it turned out like there was 2 singers and a dancer and then another guitarist. So it was, but it was a lot of fun. But it was a really meet everybody. People came down the stairs, got ready. Hi, I'm such a person. I'm such a person, and then up we go. What are we playing? Absolutely no idea whatsoever. Not a clue what we're playing. No idea what it's going to be until they say now we're going to do this. So that was fun. It was fun. It was edge of the seat fun, but fun nonetheless. That whole weekend was lovely. The festival that came after it then in Consuegra, which is near Toledo, that was lovely as well. But that was a big theatre concert. Antonio Sanchez was playing in that concert at the end, and big fin de fiesta at the end with everybody on stage, amazing dancers, amazing singers, great. So that stands out. And then the festival in Algeciras was lovely. I think I felt more pressure at that because of the association with, obviously, with Paco and Lucia. It was the reason I started this in the first place. So, yeah, I was. I think I was nervous, really, going over to play that festival. It was. There was lots and lots of guitarists there. Lots of guitarists and lots of very good guitarists that are recognized as being the type of people that I was learning stuff from for all these years. Habichuelas and Carmonas and Paco's brother and all this sort of stuff. So it was, yeah, but actually, funny enough, that gig went really well. I thought it went really well anyway. That's when I played with Ruben the first time in that gig, and he's got a remarkable sensitivity as a percussionist to what you're doing. He really does, and a phenomenal memory, it seems, because before the concert going on, really, I remember this very distinctly. Ruben and myself were backstage, and he says, "Are there any kind of remates or anything, any places you want me to, stop with you around in particular?" And I said, "Well, there's one or two, there's this, whatever, and there's this." I think we played it once, twice maybe, and he got them right in the gig. So I don't know what kind of memory he has going on there, but it's yeah, it was great. They're probably the standout ones, but I've had a lot of funny experiences in Spain, sort of aside from that. I think probably that my fondest memories in Spain and in the whole learning of flamenco thing has really been a lot more grounded type experiences in just like hanging out with people and funny experiences with people and no guitar in sight, really, just eating well, drinking well, and delicious 35 to 40 degree sunshine Celsius, of course. So yeah, that's I think probably like really, if you're to look back on things, that's the guitar side of things. Of course, it was great and everything, and you get such inspiration coming home from it. But I think kind of funny memories that last longer are sort of some funny experiences I've had over there. Maybe I won't go on about them though, but those involved will remember.
I was going to say, for fear of incriminating any
for fear of litigation, Ben.
Do you where you are in Ireland, is there that same or a similar kind of culture of nightlife and just hanging out at a cafe outside, that same kind of active nightlife?
There's an active nightlife, but due to the kind of weather we get here, realistically, there's not much of a plaza. It's not based around that. I mean, the nightlife here predominantly in the main is, it's pubs, bars, basically. It's very, very bar nightlife, bars and clubs, So I'm not particularly a huge, fan of drinking kind of nightlife. So, but there are so many in general under normal circumstances. So many opportunities to see live music in this country, has to be said. We are very fortunate in that way. There's an enormous amount of live music of different varieties. I mean, obviously, all the standard things you might imagine, but you can get from the absolutely normal to the absolutely obscure in Dublin, especially, for example, on a given weekend in normal, non pandemic times, of course. I mean, but yeah, I mean, there's a great musical culture here. It has to be said. There is people have a very good appreciation in the main when they come to concerts. I mean, flamenco here is really not something that's known really in the main. You know, most people don't know anything about it, and why would they? But people do, you know, when they'll hear about the concert being on, say, and they'll go to it and they'll give it a chance, and they end up loving it, and they show great interest in it afterwards, and asking you all sorts of questions about it, and you often get emails and stuff afterwards saying, "Oh, I really enjoyed it. I bought some flamenco albums, and it's very interesting and stuff." It's funny. The flip side of that then is that you do get sort of surprise from time to time. I was playing a little gig. I don't know, was it last year? But the gentleman came up to me and said, "Do you play Manolo Sanlúcar?" And I said, "I'm not playing any of it tonight, actually, but now I feel shamed that I don't after you're asking me, because it's, you know, something you do get. Some people come up and they're really into it, you know." So, but yeah, there's a nightlife culture here, but a lot of it is in bars, and it's a different scene to where it's different from, say, cafe culture or plaza culture that you'd have in Spain, you know.
Mm-hmm. You kind of hinted at it before we started recording here, but are there any collaborations that you've done with more traditional, you know, Irish musicians, or anything kind of bridging that musical language barrier, so to speak?
Yeah, there really were quite a few interesting things planned for this year. These were fairly concrete things as well. These were things that were programmed concerts with these people, so it wasn't like a pipe dream type thing. But I had some lovely collaborations planned. So there's a very well-known guitarist here, Steve Cooney, and I was due to play with Steve in August in a lovely big festival down in Cork. He's very well known in the traditional Irish music scene here, amongst other things. But then I had planned to get together with another fantastic accordionist, Martin Tourish, and a great piper, an uilleann piper, which, you know what uilleann pipes are?
I know that they're like, you took a bagpipe, made it a lot smaller, and you can actually play it indoors.
Yeah, you can.
You can actually safely play it indoors.
You are allowed to play it indoors.
Yeah.
That's correct. Yeah, that is essentially the definition. But no, David Power is this uilleann piper that I met at a gig earlier in the year, and I know I've listened to David before. I've heard him on a few occasions, and myself and David then were due to collaborate. I was supposed to go down with him, and we were going to do all sorts of funny things, funny musical sort of collaborations that we were speaking out about over the phone anyway. But these things I hope are just put on hold rather than, they're not going to be cancelled. There's something I have an interest in doing. I played a nice gig in just before things kicked off here in March with Robbie Harris and Peter Brown. Robbie Harris is a bowron player, a percussionist, like it's a traditional Irish instrument, and Peter Brown is an accordionist. So we played a gig together. So we're playing a lot of traditional stuff, but they wanted me to play how I play, not trying to be traditional Irish accompanist. It's a different style altogether. So I played how I play. I didn't take any flamenco out of it. I just played like as if I was playing flamenco with these rhythms, and they played as they play. And we all had, it was great. It was such a nice gig. It was really lovely. So then with the two guys, then we were saying, yeah, that could be, we really should do more of that. They had that was a project they had going with another guitarist, Lucas, that I used to play with, a great, brilliant guitarist that used to be here, an Argentinian guitarist that lived here, and he originally was doing that project with them. He subsequently moved to Spain, but yeah, so we were thinking about kind of resurrecting that as well, and yeah, these things are I'm hoping to do them. When things get sort of back to normal. It's something I'm interested in. It's I mean, the traditional Irish music culture here is very analogous to the way flamenco is in Spain, in that not everybody is into it, but everybody probably has heard it at some stage, and those that are into it are usually into it a lot. So, I kind of feel like I feel like I have to. I feel like I want to. It's not like I have to, but I want. I want to know more about it. I mean, I know about it in the sense that I know exactly how it sounds and everything, but there's kind of nuances to it that I'd like to learn in the process of collaborating. And it can be there's some interesting the way the music is kind of formatted. There's a lot of things that you could kind of make amalgamations between flamenco rhythm and traditional Irish music melodies, for instance. I tried to do a bit of that in one of the tracks on the album, which is what the album is called, Irlanda Lucia. I was it was kind of something I was messing around with for a while. So it's now not saying it's traditional Irish music, but to someone in Spain, the part of it probably sounds like traditional Irish music, and to someone that is deep in traditional Irish music, probably sounds like flamenco. This is the funny irony of it.
That sounds like such a cool kind of cross pollination, and I hope and trust it will come to fruition.
Yeah, I'm
when
sure
it's safe to do so in a year or however
Yeah,
long.
I'd say realistically it'll be that. There's no real great indication that things will be changing anytime in the new year, especially not early in the new year. But I mean, hopefully, in terms of just getting these collaborations off the ground, it's something I'm really interested in. And I kind of feel the monkeys off my back a little bit. I've got the album done and it'll be out, and I can kind of concentrate a little bit on this as something a bit different to do. But I'm definitely not intending to, become a traditional Irish music accompanist, because, it's not who I am. I like it and I like the music, but I'm more interested in seeing what happens when I remain me and do what I do, and sort of insert myself in the traditional Irish music scene. It'll work either way. It could go either way. But I mean, I think it worked really nicely in the couple of collaborations I've had already with it. So it's not something I'd be expecting to market as traditional Irish music or anything. It's just, it is what it is. It's them playing as they play and me playing as I play, essentially.
I mean, I feel like that's the best way to do it. Like some of the
Yeah.
best cross musical cultural collaborations come out of that. Whether it's
Yeah.
like Shakti or something. Shakti I wouldn't classify as traditional Indian classical music, but that's a part of it, obviously, and and it's brilliant.
The other thing which is kind of curious, I suppose, to me is that, I mean, you grow up here, you spend your life here, and you spend your life listening to music from here, and obviously from other countries too. But you're influenced very heavily by your surroundings, and then you learn, or you immerse yourself in something like flamenco. You spend a long time trying to get, like, say, an authentic flamenco voice, right? And then you have to realize, I think, that you can't deny in your own compositions your own, your own cultural upbringing, I suppose you could say. So it's funny that things that like I said before, things that people hear say to them it sounds 100% flamenco. And then some people I know personally, say in Spain, have said, yeah, it's really cool. There's these parts that are really Celtic. I can't hear it like that, but they hear it like that. So it's obviously it's there somewhere, but it's not even intentional. It's just that's who I am, I guess, is the easiest way to say it.
It seems like you're no stranger to navigating those waters too. I mean, you even mentioned on your website that the lessons and workshops that you give, which certainly put a link to in the video as well, are less about like, are you, is your heritage Spanish, or are you from a gypsy family? Like, just delving into the music and the grammar of it.
I think there's a lot of maybe mystery and mysticism surrounding, what can seem like closed musical cultures to people from the outside. And I suppose for many years they could have been closed cultures. And I, where possible to me, enjoy very much demystifying things. If I have the knowledge to do so, I'm not going to attempt to demystify something I have no idea about. But in terms of flamenco, there's, people do have, there are kind of tropes around that. You need to be born in Spain, obviously, is the first one. You have it in your blood is another one. Which really is a euphemism for you've heard it a lot since you were young. Of course, people are going to have natural facility. Some people are going to find things easier than others, but that's the same in every country and every culture, So yeah, I try to focus things, especially when dealing with people largely outside of Spain, teaching people largely outside of Spain, that speaking in using the language, of course, of flamenco, but explaining things in terms that are as objective as possible, and that there's no mystery around it. And I try to break things down as meticulously as possible. And this, in part, I guess, it's my natural way of how my head works as well. But I did get to see how this could be delivered firsthand in Spain. Salvador, my teacher, Salvador Andrade is his name. This is his way as well, very much so. He's an incredibly meticulous teacher. It's quite unusual in flamenco teaching. I found over there, it's normal just to say learn falsettas. Here's the falsetta and here's another falsetta, and there you go. He's very meticulous about position and hand position and technique and sound and everything, and the minutiae of subdivisions and minutiae of rhythm and tempo and everything. So he's a very, very methodical teacher, and I suppose that suited me as well. I think I kind of have a natural inclination towards that. That way of explanation. But when I saw, that okay, someone is also delivering, like really good classes in this way, I felt I'm gonna deliver it in this way too. This is the way that's most comfortable for me. Of course, you have to tailor things to people as well. One explanation is not going to suffice when you're dealing with different people. Of course, you have to have empathy to how people understand things. People understand things conceptually in entirely different ways from time to time, and if you need to have an ability to do that. But broadly speaking, I would try to speak as objectively about the thing as possible and demystify as much as possible, basically.
Where can people go online to find out, how to sign up for lessons or classes with you?
So basically everything is kind of done through my website at the moment. I'm on Facebook and all that sort of stuff, but it's easier. So on my website is johnwalshguitar.ie. There's kind of tabs and links there to different kind of sections. So you'll see a section for flamenco guitar lessons, and it'll come up there. the regarding the album as well, like all the news and info about that is being posted there. I'm kind of putting together a mailing list of people, just a kind of newsletter that people can sign up to let them know when the thing is ready, rather than I suppose just relying on social media. Some people are on it some days and they're not. Half the things you post aren't seen by half the people. So yeah, I try to do as much as I can through the website at the moment anyway. So like all information, people get in touch with me through there as well, and there's there's resources on there as well that are for my students that aren't they're not visible, but they're parts of the website. People kind of download different stuff for PDFs and tabs and transcriptions and stuff like that.
Very cool. Very streamlined and, single source, so to speak.
Yeah, I find it the easiest. It's a bit of a headache, and I have to do it myself as well. But this is the nature of it. I think everybody's in that boat now. I don't think I've ever met any independent musician that actually gets someone to do their website stuff.
I know a couple, but I don't want to out them on this forum. It's more because they don't quite know how to go about it. But it's so easy now too. I mean, you don't have to know code if you want to set up a basic website. Yours looks great. And John, is there anything else we didn't highlight here, or anything you're looking forward to doing when life gets back to some kind of normal? Bowling or skydiving or whatever.
Two things I'm looking forward to doing, not in any particular order. First thing is actually getting to play for people live and play with people. That, and I think probably every musician is in the same. To be on a stage playing with people and communicating with people through music, both with the audience and the people on stage, that is not something that can be replicated online. You may play with someone, but then you're missing the feedback from the audience realistically, and vice versa. You could do it on your own, but so that's definitely something. And then something else I'm looking forward to in March is when the fly fishing season opens again, because that's also something I had more time to do this year, given the lack of work that I love. One of the compositions on the album, Dos Rios, is Two Rivers, it's called. And the reason it's called that, there's a lot of the tracks on the album have reasons for being called the way they are, but that one basically was done a few years ago when I was fishing a lot on these two particular rivers. And you'd be in the river fishing maybe all day long, and I'd be thinking about melodies that I wanted to include, and so much of that composition was put together from me just humming melodies into the voice recorder on the phone, and then continuing to fish, and then something else would come and hum another melody in, and I would say like 70% of it probably came realistically in that format, in that one piece just happened to be like that, and so kind of had to call it that. I had no choice. I had to call it after the Two Rivers. So that's what I'm looking forward to, those two things for sure. And I suppose the general thing of having some degree of freedom to see people and move around, and just kind of human interaction is lacking at the moment.
It's tough. Well, we'll get through this, and I'll be definitely sending all the people I can to your website and over to your album when it comes out, and super excited about that.
Thank you very much. I guess, and just for anyone that is interested, I think it should be the second week in December. I'll be selling everything off my website again, downloads and physical stuff off the website. I will be posting some updates as to the exact release dates on Facebook and on my website and different places. But It's looking at the moment like it's going to be probably at the beginning of the second week in December, but that will be confirmed very, very soon. I just have to wait on a couple of logistical things to be signed off on, essentially.
Well, super excited about that. And John, thanks so much for taking the time out of your evening over there to
Yeah,
chat.
no
And this
problem.
was super fun.
My pleasure, completely. Really, really nice to talk to you, and thanks for having me.
We'll be hearing from you for sure. And
Excellent.
have a
Very
good
good.
evening over there across the pond.